If you sell any type of high ticket offer, whether that's a done for you service, a coaching program, a consulting offer, or a course, there are three funnels that consistently and reliably work time and time again, especially for high ticket offers. It doesn't matter if you're running Facebook ads, Google ads, your traffic's coming from Instagram, it's coming from YouTube, or even affiliates in like your own sphere of influence or network. Does not matter. These funnels convert every single time. And so in this video, I'm going to go over what those three funnels are, what they are, how they work, why they work, and then show you an example of each one as well. And so without further ado, so I don't waste your time or mine, I'm just going to get right into it. Now, the number one funnel for anyone selling anything high ticket, and I recommend everyone cracks this immediately, is the call funnel. Now, the call funnel is super, super straightforward, and it's very self-explanatory. You're getting people to book a call. That's it. You do this in one of two ways, and it depends on the amount of spend and traffic you have that you can push through the funnel. So if you're running organic, there's one way I do it. If you're running paid, there's another way I do it. But all in all, it's pretty much the same thing. The funnel consists of three core components. You have an opt-in page, you have an application page, and you have a thank you page. The opt-in page is to collect basic info like name, email, phone. The application page is to then vet the person that came through. So asking them a series of questions like age, are they financially qualified? Why do they want to be a part of it? Are they meeting the current business metrics? So certain businesses, especially at a high enough scale, you're not going to want to work with people that are just starting, even if they can't afford the program, right? And so the application page, the job of the application page is to filter out unqualified prospects. From there, you'll send everyone to a thank you page. There'll be one for unqualified, there'll be one for qualified, but generally speaking, the goal of the thank you page is to frame that individual. So let's say they booked a call. On the thank you page, you're going to tell them to make sure they add the call to the calendar, make sure they do this, that, and the other, and then have them watch a video and push them down another funnel that will pre-frame them prior to the call. Now, the goal again of this funnel is to get the person to book a call and hop on the phone with your sales team. So obviously you need a solid sales team in place. Where this funnel varies based on your situation is whether you include an opt-in page or not. So I've seen paid traffic perform really well on just a straight application page, as well as with an opt-in page. If you do run an opt-in page though, you're going to get drop off in the amount of applications. And so this is where having setters, sending emails and sending texts becomes that much more important, because you're able to get people to go ahead and book calls largely from setters and circumvent the hoping that they fill out the application. And so to anyone starting out, I recommend running with an opt-in page because it does two things. One, again, it allows you to collect a ton of information and start building your email list if you don't have one. So it's just a great way to get cheap leads. You'll get them coming in for between $3 and $8 to $10 per person. And so it's not as cheap as some lead magnets, but it's pretty solid metrics. As well as when your setters start talking to people, you can start to change the rest of your marketing based on what the setters hear. So if the setters are saying, hey, it sounds like a lot of dog shit leads are coming through the funnel, make the adjustments, make the change. Very, very straightforward. Now, you're also going to be able to hit them with email and text that get people to book a call. So typically, you'll have a pre-built email or SMS sequence meant for those that opt in. Hey, I saw you opted in for the funnel, this, that, and the other, whatever. And you drip that out over the course of 3 to 7 days. Same thing with text, drip it out over 3 to 7 days with the goal of getting people to book a call. Now, if the 7 days passes, if the setters are like, this guy's not booking, I can now be hitting these people with broadcast emails. So just emails to your list, marketing whatever offer you're currently running, not tailored to a specific action that they recently took. And so eventually, if you continue to push towards booking a call, this person that opted in 6 months ago may opt in now. And so email, I'm going to be making a whole nother video on email strategies and how to best implement email into your high ticket service or product. But just know email, SMS, and setters are a great way to increase your ROAS. Now, the only catch with this, and I'll get into it later in the video as well, is if your setters are dog water, your ROAS is going to drop. I've seen offers go from running at a 5x to a 2x because the setters are horrible. And so just know you want to try to avoid leaning on them as much as possible, but they are going to be a huge lever when it comes to increasing your ROAS on this funnel. Now, in terms of the page itself, because it's a super straightforward funnel, basically, and I'll reference the application page, but the same goes for the opt-in pretty much, is right away you're going to want to have a small text above, like a pre-headline or sub-headline, whatever you want to call it, that speaks to the avatar. So attention wholesalers, or attention e-com entrepreneurs, or are you looking to escape your 9 to 5, right? You're going to want to call the individual out. Then you're going to make the offer in the headline. So the big text on the page is going to say something like, we will help you run paid ads for your info product, or we will help you learn sales for this, right? Obviously not the best copy in the world, but you get the point. Now the text below that, you're going to remove friction, right? Sometimes you'll add friction too. So again, you want to test this kind of stuff, but this basically makes it either easier for people to book or harder for people to book. So you may say something like, this is only for people doing 30K a month, right? And you'll DQ people. You can also do that up here. Or, and what I see a lot of success, what I like to push in the beginning is lowering friction. So you'll say something like, without having to work 80 hours a week, without this, without that, right? And so it's call out the avatar, make the offer, lower friction. From there, you'll have what's called a VSL. I've also seen DSLs or deck sales letters work as well. Haven't tested it myself, so I cannot speak to that. But a VSL, all a VSL is it helps pre-frame the individual to book a call with you or fill out the application. This will cover things like, obviously you'll have a hook to catch their attention. Then you'll go into, the offer, the opportunity, why you're credible, show proof, reiterate value, handle objections. So this is where you can pre-handle stuff. This is also why communicating with setters is important, because if they say, a lot of broke people are coming through the funnel, you can handle that. If you don't have enough money, this is not for you. So you also DQ and qualify. So that's what a VSL does, is it pre-frames. Then you'll have just a little CTA and an application. And again, the application is just to filter people out based on financial qualifications, age, does their business meet the required KPIs? Some info products you need to be making a certain amount to join. You got to be making 50K a month minimum, whatever it might be. But that's like the basic structure. And then split test different contexts. So you'll see guys like Sabri Subi running extensively long funnels. You'll see guys like, I want to say Jeremy Haynes. You'll see other guys. I know Brian Moore runs YouTube ads, big YouTube ad guy. He runs super, super simple funnels with not a ton of context. But this is like the core foundation. This is where the biggest levers are going to get pulled with this funnel. Now, what's also very important to note is your cost per call on this. So with any funnel, you're going to want to be paying attention to how much you're paying per call. That's arguably the best metric to gauge profitability and your ability to test, right? Because if you have a very high cost per call, it could fuck you, right? So let's say I sell a $3,000 offer. If my cost per call is $1,000, I technically have to be closing at 30% to break even, right? Let's say my cost per call is now $300. I now have to close at 10% to break even, right? And so it's important to understand your cost per call metrics. Also, do not neglect accounting your ad spend in, right? So let's go back to that $1,000 cost per call on a $3,000 offer. I now have to close at 60% if I'm at a 3x ROAS. So if I put $1,000 in and I get $3,000 out and my cost per call is $1,000, oh no, I guess that makes sense. Essentially the point I'm trying to get at here is you want to account for all of your numbers because if you don't, sometimes you can go negative or dip below break even because you aren't calculating this properly. Just know a good cost per call, obviously the lower the better, but anywhere between $100 to $1,000. $1,000 is definitely on the high end. Realistically, I'd say between 100 and 500 is ideal cost per call, but you can run profitable funnels at 1,000. And this is also alluding to a lever that you can pull that really has a big effect on your business without doing much. So a great example of this is Charlie Morgan. So let's just look at it. This is exactly what I mentioned. First, you call out who it is: marketing agency owners, coaches, consultants, and course sellers. Boom, I know this is for me. Then you say what the offer is, discover how we can guarantee you 20 high ticket clients in the next 180 days. That's the offer. Now I lower friction. Okay, some people may be hesitant. Let's get them across the line, or your money back and a $5,000 wire. Huh. Now I see this video. What's this about, right? I'll click this. And then again, the goal is to get the info. Once I click into this is going to take me to the next page in the funnel. All this is again, calls the offer or calls the individual or the avatar out, makes the offer, VSL covering everything, apply for a strategy call. So this is a super simplified version of it. Sometimes you'll see case studies and testimonials here. But again, the goal here, and I'm honestly surprised that they're doing this, is to redirect you to an application or a Calendly booking. And so again, they'll push you through the funnel, they'll get you to book a call, and then from there, everything's good to go. Now, what they should be doing is when I give them that basic info up front, is they should be dialing me. Ideally within 5 minutes of me filling out the form, realistically an hour at most. Should be the speed to lead in terms of calling these guys. And what will also happen is, like I mentioned before, I'll be getting a bunch of emails, texts, all this fun stuff to get me back to this calendar to book a call. And so that is a great example of the call funnel. Now, the next funnel on the list is the webinar funnel. This thing fucking rips. The reason I always recommend starting with a call funnel is you can really nail down the offer, the messaging, and all this stuff without spending a bunch and not knowing if you're going to make money or not. A webinar, if you flop the presentation, it can go south pretty fast. But this one, you can make more money than with a call funnel, 100% every time, without as much operational complexity, right? If you only run a webinar funnel, you only need salespeople for a couple of days after, not for the days leading up. Now, I always recommend, and honestly, the best 1-2 I see in the game right now is a call funnel and a webinar funnel, because this creates consistency and this gives you big bursts of sales. But besides the point, to kind of keep it simple for this video, the webinar funnel is very, very straightforward. Essentially, you have a similar page to an opt-in page on a call funnel. Someone registers, they give you their information, name, email, phone. Sometimes this will be paid, sometimes it won't, depends on what the offer is. If it's a higher ticket offer, sometimes I recommend paid. Honestly, I like free though, especially because you can get leads for even cheaper than you get them with a call funnel. But essentially, you collect basic info. Then, if you're doing it right, you'll push them to a self-liquidating offer. So this will be anything between like $27 and $97, where you can recoup a lot of your ad spend. So let's say I spend $5K, I may make 1.5 to 3K back on that 5K, and now I've gotten leads for even cheaper. From there, I'll push them to 1 or 2 different upsells. And so this will be like a $197 thing. This might be like a $297 thing, or a $297 and a $497, whatever it is. But the goal with these 3 pages is just to recoup ad spend. Now, what you'll see with organic content is a lot of people just go registration straight to webinar. Works, but like, why would you not grab more money? Doesn't make any sense to me. Now, the other secret to this is tying in these upsells and liquidating offers to the webinar. So make sure you have this so you come prepared. Those who don't have it won't be able to make as much out of the live event as the other people, right? And so you want to tie this into the event to give even more reason for them to join. Or just because you registered for the event, we're giving you access to this and only on this page, because it's true. Only on this page you get this deal. So what I've done with a client of mine is we run a free trial to a low ticket community, right? But you only get that if you're on this page. And so just know this is a great way to recoup ad spend. Now, between the date of registering and the webinar, typically you'll have 3 to 7 days pass. I recommend a shorter time span, although if you're looking to collect more data, I go longer. You're able to capture more people, spread it out, and it's not as like frantic as like launching ads at midnight and then just scaling the shit out of them for 3 days, because that can get aggressive. Facebook doesn't necessarily always like that, nor does YouTube. But it's typically a 3 to 7 day period between the registration and the webinar. Now, in between the registration and the webinar, you're going to want to have setters dialing, emails going out, and SMS going out. Now, setters dialing is just a great way to get commitment from people. Not needed, but you will see a 5 to 15% jump in show rate if you have setters like aggressively dialing. Again, this I would not implement if you don't already have setters ready to work, or if you don't have setters that are already flooded with leads. Not worth your time. Just know that the most successful ones do have these on deck, especially at high spend. Now, what you 100% need to be doing is sending out emails and texts before. And so I could go into a whole nother video on pre-email and SMS sequences for webinars, but basically you want to be like borderline harassing these people to get them to show up. A good show up rate on a cold traffic webinar should be between 40 and 60%. Like, that should be the minimum. If you're doing 60 to 80% show rates, that's unreal, fucking good for you. But 40 to 60%, if you're doing less than 40%, you are not harassing these people enough. Now, the way I like to do my email sequences, and it's definitely a little bit aggressive, is I will hit these people up 3 days out, 1 day out, 24 hours out, 12 hours out, 8 hours out, 3 hours out, 1 hour out, 45 minutes out, 15 minutes out, 5 minutes out, start time, 5 minutes in, 15 minutes in. And so they're getting a total of like 10 to 15 messages within the hour or two before the, or three, within 3 hours of the call, and like majority of them come within the hour. And so the goal of this is to just get people to show up. You want as many people to show up to this webinar as possible. Now, the webinar, again, is going to go between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours. This presentation is so important. It is the biggest lever in this funnel, because if you can get people to book calls or to purchase your thing at the end of it, that's where the ROAS comes into play, right? If you break even up front, awesome. Chances are you won't, though. And so if you totally drop the ball on this, you're going to get pissed. You're going to get discouraged. It's not going to work. That's why I always recommend working with someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to webinars. If you are that individual, you're looking to implement webinars in your business, book a call below. But for the love of God, either be okay losing money on these, or fucking have it dialed in beforehand and work with someone that knows what they're doing. Regardless, this is going to be the biggest lever, because if I can get people to book calls and I can close those individuals, these things, I mean, if they're running well, you can get a 10, 15, sometimes 20x ROAS on a webinar. And again, I'm going to allude to the key lever to all this that you can pull. But realistically, these can crush if you get them right. Now, after the webinar occurs, you're going to push majority of people to book a call. Sometimes you'll do like mid-ticket offers, so like $500 to $700, sometimes $1,500. It works. Still, I always recommend pushing people to a book a call, especially in the beginning, because you can just get that feedback like I mentioned up here, so we can change stuff in the marketing going forward. Now, the other thing is, after the webinar, you're going to want to push a fuck ton of people to a replay of the webinar through email and text. And so you'll hit them up typically 3 to 5 times after the webinar, sending them a copy of the webinar and pushing them to book a call, right? And so this, you're going to get another kick in booked calls and sales here. So this is super, super important. Not as important as these show up ones, but still, like, you're just throwing money away. You're burning money if you aren't sending these out. Now, the other thing, again, is setters. So if you use something like a Webinar Jam, even a Zoom, you can track really well who booked calls and who did not, and the people who stayed on there. So you can track time on the webinar. If someone was on the webinar for more than an hour and a half or an hour, like 60 to 70%, call the fucker up. Get them to book a call. That is like the most important part. And again, a lot of your webinar purchases are going to come post-webinar. Now, the other thing, and the other just quick tip inside the webinar, at the end, you're going to want to leave 30 to 45 minutes for a Q&A and just bring people on live. Go back and forth with them, exchange conversations, answer questions, and treat them as mini sales calls. So basically figure out, what's this person's situation? Why are they on the call? How can we help? Get a commitment from them to book a call in front of everyone, and then get them to confirm with you in the chat when they booked. And so this starts to create that groupthink. Groupthink is a huge aspect to running webinars. And so just know that that is like essential in this whole process. Now, a great example of webinars is Tom Cruise. This is obviously formatted for mobile, but this dude fucking crushes it. It's basically name, email, phone number, register, boom. I don't even know if he has SLO. So this one doesn't, but it's a little, sometimes you'll have these little pre-call videos. Important, your deal finder, free trials, processing, right? And then awesome, fill out a form. This is also great to pre-book. I haven't necessarily tested this that much myself, but I do see people running it. Again, great model. Tom's been crushing this, and he works with one of the best marketers in the game, Jeremy Haynes, or at least he did in the past. I don't know if he currently does. So this dude's funnel, study the hell out of it, crushes. But just another example of a webinar funnel in action. Now, the last funnel of the 3 is the challenge funnel. And this is pretty much identical to the webinar funnel. The only difference is it's going to be a 3 to 5 day event. And so you're repeating this same process. You hammer them with emails and text before each day. You have setters coming on, trying to get people to show up to each day. And again, it's just like a webinar each day. Now, I've seen guys like Russell run 8-hour events each day. So it's just like a webinar on steroids. The benefit to a challenge funnel over a webinar is you can get people to pay 30, 50, 60, $100,000 without ever talking to a salesperson. And so what you'll notice with all three of these is this is salespeople dominant, this needs them, but not required, and this can help, but definitely not needed, right? And so this one is obviously the most operationally complex in terms of the marketing side of things, but if you can nail this, holy shit, can you print money? But it's, again, pretty much borderline the same as a regular webinar. Registration page, SLO, upsell 1, upsell 2, 3 to 7 days until the first day of the event. Day 1, hammer them. Day 2, hammer them. Day 3, hammer them. On day 2, you're going to make a call to action. So this will be your first book a call. You'll push people to either purchase or book a call with salespeople. Honestly, even with this, first go around, do it with sales reps, just so you can get feedback from them, like who was coming through this thing, who was booking. I think your setters are going to be great insight for that as well. But you're really going to want to push towards this book a call. And then on day 3, same thing, push them to a call to action. On day 3, though, even day 2, hit them with the post emails and texts. Hey, we just did this. We made this special offer. Do you want in? Right? All that good stuff. And then setters. Each day, it's literally the same thing here. You're just going to want to send them this post content to get them to buy or to get them to book calls or buy. But the good thing about a challenge funnel is, again, you can sell a $30 to $50 to $100,000 thing without needing a single fucking salesperson. A great example of this is Dan Henry. He ran a challenge a couple of months ago, did $800,000 without a single sales rep. I think he was running, don't quote me on this, I think he was running like 8 to 12 ROAS. No sales reps. Maybe a setter. Maybe. And so these things fucking print. They make a lot of money, but they are very operationally complex. So if anything, if you're doing this on your own, go webinar. Even more, go call funnel. If you want to start messing around in the challenge funnel, go for it. I highly recommend you work with someone that knows what the fuck they're doing on these, because this can be a lot of wasted effort towards something that just does not fucking work. So yeah, just know challenge funnels they're very complex, but they also have the biggest reward. And I think the overarching theme with all of these funnels is the more you can take off of the salespeople, the easier it is for you to scale that business, and also the less volatility you will experience in that business, right? The less I need to rely on a salesperson's mood, the higher performing and more consistent my business will become, because again, I am not relying on if this person is going to have a shitty day or not, or if they're going to show up. This is especially true with setters. If you have a good setter and closer, fucking treat them well, especially setters, because setters, all they want to do is become closers. If you can find a setter that's committed to the role for a good period of time, fucking treat them like they're the best thing in the world. I'd overpay in commissions for that, because if they're willing to put in the work, holy shit, they're going to be a fast feedback loop on who's coming through the funnel. They're going to set calls for you. They're arguably a bigger lever than a closer. Arguably. Tell me what you think in the comments, but that's where I'm at. Now, a fantastic example of this is Russell Brunson's Selling Online Challenge. I attended this a while ago, and my God, they do a really good job. What you'll also notice, just a little like nerding out a bit, is he'll insert pre-recorded parts because he knows they convert, right? But like I said, 3-day event, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. He even shortened the time because the other one was aggressive. But you're having lunch breaks. Like, this is something people commit. They step away from work and they really get involved. And again, just super solid funnel as well. He's more copy heavy. The difference though with a challenge especially is you can charge up front. So you'll have free challenges, but with a 3-day event, you can typically get away with paid because, again, you're also paying for these people time. So it is easier to liquidate on these as well. But this is an example. I'm not going to be giving him $200 today. I've already paid for it. But just know this is just another really, really good representation of a challenge funnel, like the best in the game. Now, there are a ton of other funnels that work, lead forms, low ticket funnels. But what you'll notice is I tried to give you the 3 that you can start today that don't require a very sales dominant business. Lead forms are entirely sales based, entirely. Your funnels or your ads will help, but if you can't crack the ad, then it's just a waste of time. The ad needs to provide all the context. Still images to a lead form is like a bitch. It's just so much more dominant on the salespeople and the setters that if they're dropping the ball, scaling is borderline impossible. The other one is a low ticket. So a great example of this is if you guys have seen Jeremy Miner, his Black Book of Objections or Black Book of Questions, $27 product. He gets contact info. There's some intent there. They can then book a call if they want, but also they have setters just dialing. Hey, I saw you got the Black Book. Let me help you implement it. And then it turns into them booking you into a call, right? So again, works really well, just very setter and sales heavy. If you're running a sales business, makes sense. If you're not though, why would you want to overwhelm yourself by relying entirely on setters and closers? And so that's why these three are like the most important. Now, one thing I've been alluding to this whole video is the biggest lever with all these, and it is price. There's a lot of variables you can pull, headlines, subheadlines, VSL applications, all this stuff. But arguably one of the first ones that you should be testing is your price point, right? Because it kind of goes back to that conversation I had about cost per call earlier. If I'm charging 10K for something, I can spend 5K on a webinar, completely drop the ball, book 10 people, close one of them, and still be at a 2x ROAS, right? Because my price was so high, right? If I run a webinar to a 197 thing and I just totally drop the ball on the offer, it's very easy for me to go negative. If I have a 5K thing and I book 20 sales calls and I spend, I don't know, 5 to 7K on ads, I only need to close 2 of them to be positive, right? And so it is the biggest lever you can pull. And the only reason you don't pull it is either one, you don't have the proof, which I get. Stack proof, lose a little money, break even, work for cheap or free. Like, you need the testimonials. But if you have the proof, or you have enough proof, which you really don't need that much, you just need enough to say like, hey, I've done this. Once you have the proof, then it's just a mindset thing, right? And the people that will haggle with you on price are also probably going to be horrible clients, right? Especially if you're running a service-based business. If you're running a coaching program, it doesn't matter as much, but even then, they'll still nag the shit out of you. I saw this firsthand running a $97 a month offer versus a 15K. Same offer, obviously different levels of engagement, help, and information by a long shot. But the 97 a month, you deal with broke people, and it's a pain in the ass to deal with. They ask for a shit ton. They're bugging you all the time. And it's just like, Jesus, all this work for 97 a month. Whereas the guys that pay you 15K are like, I get it. I'm committed. I'm in. Let's do it. And so it's much more straightforward. It's easier to deal with these people. They don't question things as much. And your ROAS, return on ad spend for a lot of these funnels, just absolutely crushes. Like, I'm telling you, that is the first lever you should be testing if you feel like you could be charging more. If you're comfortable with your price, charge more. You should be uncomfortable when you say your price on the phone every single time. If you are not uncomfortable about what you are charging, you are not charging enough. It's the best indication. If you're just starting out, just get your foot in the door. But if you have any sort of resume, experience, raise prices to the point where you're uncomfortable or the math doesn't make sense. It's that straightforward. And so hopefully in this video, helped you guys understand like the 3 core funnels that I love to run on any high ticket offer. If you guys are looking to implement any of these into your business, especially more so on the higher complexity ones like a challenge funnel or a webinar funnel, go ahead and click the link down below, book a call with myself or a member of my team. We will run through everything with you, see what makes sense for your situation. If not, if you want to do this yourself, get the call funnel working 100%. Once you get that working, then start implementing webinars. I recommend running them weekly until you feel confident in the presentation, then bi-weekly until you feel, again, until your confidence level raises, and then pull back to monthly once you feel like this is a well-oiled machine, and then run them monthly. That is arguably the best way to do it, just because you can get so many reps in when it comes to dialing in the presentation, the offer, and then even just like pre-call emails, texts, and the setters as well. So hopefully that helps you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you following, and let's get some more high ticket sales.